Morning, everybody. Michelle is here on this January the 30th, 2024. On a Tuesday. And I thought I'd get on up and say some encouraging words to the people that resonate with me. And I just wanted to say, a lot of us have been on numerous journeys through our lives where we've had this ambition, to make a difference in some kind of way, right? We had this ambition, probably look a little oily. We had the ambition, to make a difference. And at the same time, be rich. How many of us have not thought that way? We wanted to make a difference, but yet we also wanted to be compensated. We wanted to enjoy the finer things in life just like everybody else is, or as everybody else were assuming, or alleging. We were fed a lot of garbage as young people. I don't care what century you were born, what decade you were born, Throughout our lives, and I'll stick with my parents, I'll stick with myself, let's just kind of keep it there. We have been fed a bunch of garbage. Nothing but lies, deceptions, and manipulation, indoctrination throughout. And it goes back further, thousands of years, millions of years. But like I said, we'll keep it in the last 200 years. How about that? So, it was just a pony show for us, and we were unknowing of that. It was just smoke and mirrors for us, and again, it was unknowing to us. So it makes sense for people to believe that there were, that certain periods of our lives were the good old days. How many times have you heard people say, "Oh man, we just need to go back to the 50s. We need to go back to the 40s. We need to go back to the 60s." How many people have been, I've heard that all my life from people who were, they were toddlers during the 50s, toddlers during the 40s. But to them, it felt like the good old days. And that's because they were possibly sheltered, and there was a reason for that, needing to be sheltered. Because during that period of time, the 40s, maybe even the 30s, but even further back, let's stay with the 40s, the 50s, 60s. Those were the most devastating times of our lives. There was nuclear weapons that were dropped, nuclear weapons that we're all suffering the consequences of that even today. Okay, so I can guarantee certain cancers would not have materialized or developed if it were not for those two bombs dropping on another country. And we were under the belief that what we were doing to other people didn't affect us. So we, as those of you that were in the 40s and the 50s or 60s, you were sheltered. You were quote unquote protected from the truth. Okay, you were fed these fantasies and illusions and delusions about the good old days, right? So we'll go ahead and kind of fast forward a little bit. And then, of course, the 60s and the 70s, the 50s, 60s, and 70s came about. That was a devastating time as well, with the wars, because we've been in war for I think for millennia. And that means thousands of years. And that also means millions. It could be millions of years. We've been in war. Okay, there may have been a period of no war during the Dark Ages, possibly during the Middle Ages, possibly, but definitely not during our modern day age, our industrial age. There has not been a moment in time where we have not been. When I say we, I say this country has not been in war. Okay, so at this point, millions upon millions, maybe even billions of people have been killed in the last 200 years. Billions of people. But yet, we're still populated all over the planet with ourselves, with our toys and our equipment. Okay, so what's the encouraging word here? Is that a lot of us throughout our years have been picking up different narratives, not necessarily what has been told to us. Our sensing has been telling us otherwise. Okay, a lot of us may have felt crazy at some point. A lot of us may have considered being placed in a mental hospital. Some of us may have contemplated harming ourselves because there was a disconnect. A lot of people will say, well, why aren't you happy? You need to be happy. You ought to be grateful. A lot of people used to talk to us like that. Pastors and preachers, you should be thankful. You need to smile. You remember those kind of attacks on those were attacks on our reality. What am I smiling about? Why do I need to be grateful when I sense something else is going on? Okay. And so I've said several times, a lot of us are pretty sensitive, and that's nothing. There's nothing magical about that. You're sensitive because you are picking up unnaturalness, distortion, manipulation, and thus, but yet you're being told otherwise. Okay, no. I used to get that a lot. No. Women are supposed to do this. Men are supposed to, this kind of projecting of factors that make anybody crazy. If you're not developing, because you remember in our adolescence, as we're in our parents' womb, that's where it starts. Not parents, in my mother's womb, and my biological mother. I'm going to bring it to me. While in there, you're developing. As soon as you are impulsed with that creational energy, that's when you start developing. And that's within your parent, in your mother's womb. I say parents because, again, we have been indoctrinated with, what type of pronouns to use. Even though we were taught something differently in school, our pronouns are screwed up. And for a lot of people, a lot of people just don't know what the fucking, don't know what to do. Okay. So our realities have been intentionally tampered with, intentionally interfered with. So a lot of people have just lost that ability to think and put the pieces together and say, what? Something doesn't make sense here to me. And I've had so many of those moments growing up as a young girl. So many moments of that. Contradictions. Oh, man. Contradictions all over the place. And I told you, because I didn't know how, because I had to determine my modality. Okay, a lot of people assume that if they are talking to you, that you understand what the hell they're talking about. Okay, I would say for me growing up, 99% of the time, no, I did not. What I was paying attention to is your behavior and actions. I wasn't necessarily listening to you because that was not my dominant. My dominant was my visual. It's what I was picking up in your behavior and actions. But then over the course of time, I started to understand the sounds and the tones as well. Like if my mother said some certain things a certain way, I knew what to do. Okay, I knew what to do when I heard a certain sound and tone coming out of my mom's mouth. But all of that had to be developed. And my feelings had to be developed as well. My feelings were kind of like, whatever. I was kind of like, okay, kind of dismissive a lot with my feelings. And just like, well, whatever. I would get in my little moods and go do what I got to do, So that all had to be developed as well. So there is a developing process. And if you didn't get that moment in time during that adolescent, from the womb to the adolescent period or the puberty, you may have missed out some valuable learning lessons. And so I'm so thankful because, in my culture, in the Black culture, okay, we got some experiences, honey. And that's what it takes. You need experiences. You need to see the good, the bad, the ugly. You need to see drug dealers, prostitutes, predators. All of that was there. Mental illness, different sexuality preferences, different religion. We had all type of religions in the neighborhood growing up. It was a huge neighborhood. It was a group. Just like how we're working now. It was a group of neighborhoods, but we were all one. We were all one. And so a lot of us made it through the best of times over there. Some of us were, fighting every after school. Some people were instigating. It was a whole bunch of things going on for a lot of people. And so it was a time to be developing. It was a crucial developing time. And I can say I had many experiences of all type of developing experiences. And I'm so thankful for that. So it comes to what we're doing with the fact that I'm attempting to help people, to evolve their consciousness. Other people are helping people to develop their businesses. Other people are helping people to this or that. People that are genuinely helpers. You may have experienced certain things growing up, which called to you to help people. Okay, you did everything in your power to make sure you were taken care of, but you had this calling to help people. Okay, or defend them or protect them. I was a protector, and I think I told this story when I was in elementary school. I was, elementary school, which is a very young age, and I can remember being, we walking in the hall. When I got into that environment, into that school, there was a lot of things going on because that was during the time of forcing us, to go into these white schools that did not want us, and for some reason closing down Black schools that were in the neighborhood. I talked enough about that, and I'm going to talk more about that as time goes on, more so when I'm talking to people face to face. I can remember, because it was a mixture of all races of people, Black, white, Hispanic, all shapes and sizes. And I remember this young, petite, young boy. I was the tallest person, I think, in the class, the tallest girl, because I shot up really quickly. And I think I was the tallest girl in that period, in that grade. And I remember as we would walk up and down the hallway, I always hear a little boy like kind of crying out as if he was in pain or something. And that something was hurting him. He was crying out. And, when we all like bunched together, of course, kids are going to be elbowing each other and stepping on each other's toes, and, just kind of mischief, that type of genuine, necessary mischief. That's how you learn how to develop yourself with people, is by getting in there, getting in there sometimes. Sometimes you may have to fight, So I remember this little young boy, because he was really petite, compared to me, because like I said, I was the tallest girl in the class. And he was, he would always be crying out like he was in pain or something. And I can remember there was always this much taller, heavier set boy that was nearby as well. Nearby this young, petite, young boy. And so what he was doing was he was bullying this young boy. This larger one was bullying the younger one, which is typical. There's no need to really, if someone grows out of that, that's the whole idea. You get into experiences to develop, and develop the best way you can to get out of it. So somebody may start as a bully and end up as, something completely different, or start out as meek and mild, and then be, a destructor. Like most of the people that have done the most destruction, if you look at their stature, Some of them were barely 5 feet. Okay, or maybe 5'3", if that. And they're the ones that cause the most destruction on this planet. Check it out, research it. Small statured, frail looking, weak and meek. Okay, so comparing them to athletes. Okay, just saying, just saying. So, but I remember he was harming this young boy. He was harming this boy's hollering out, "Oh, stop!" And so I remember going to the teacher and saying, "Hey, blah 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 blah, this is going on." And you know what she said to me? She said, "Mind your own business." Oh, or don't worry about it. So it was more or less mind your own business. That has nothing to do with you. Even though, she's a teacher here. This boy, this young, this smaller sized boy is being harassed and terrorized, in my opinion, the way he was hollering out in pain because of this huge boy about my size was bullying him. So I let it go on, and it usually happens when they were coming out of the boys' bathroom. So who knows what was going on in there? So when she told me to mind my own business, I stepped away from it and said, "Well, okay." I was happy-go-lucky then. Okay, mind my business. All right, I know how to follow instructions based on my mother. Thank you to my mother for disciplining me and helping me to accept someone's instructions even though I don't like them. Well, but one day I had enough, and then I intervened. And I can remember when I did intervene, if you could see, I could still kind of remember the face of that young petite boy that I was protecting. Because I remember he had bushy, curly, black hair. He was a white male. They both were white males, but he had really bushy, curly hair. And I can remember when I stepped in, and I went to the bigger, the larger boy, because we were the same height. And the bullying stopped. Just put it that way. It stopped. But I just still remember the little boy like, "Who are you?" And da-da-da-da. He probably was looking at me like, "Who are you? And what are you doing?" And, he was definitely confused. But let's just say this, the bullying stopped. That bully went and bullied other people, possibly. Who knows? So our experiences are required for our development. So do not interfere with your children. In my opinion, you do whatever you want with your kids. You have free will, but do not interfere with them as younger age children, not being in experiences. Okay. Yeah, they have to be in experiences. I don't know what that was. Let me make sure my face is clean. Yeah, that looks good. Don't want to have, stuff all over me. But yes, do not, if you can, interfere with your children experiencing things. Now, things are much more different now. Okay, our children, unfortunately, these young people are brutal now. Okay, they will fight you to the death now. As before, when we were growing up, as soon as they saw blood, they stopped. Now, these children are battling each other to the death in some cases. If they're not taking out weapons, knives, and guns, we know that. That's documented. But again, just as a parent, you consider what your child needs to develop himself in order to protect himself and have self-confidence. Okay, because that's what I have. I have self-confidence. And I know the people that work in the same kind of like-mindedness like me, we have self-confidence. We may not know what the hell we're doing, but we do want to help. And that's that kind of group I was talking about. We are like-mindedness. We are parallel. We want to help. Whether we need to be entertaining people, whether we need to be educating people, or blah, 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 protecting them and serving them, blah, 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 in a true, genuine fashion. Like when I was a law enforcement officer, I took that seriously. Okay, I was out there to protect and serve, per se. And serving wasn't subjugation, wasn't submissiveness, and wasn't, subserviency at all. That's not service. Okay. Bowing to people and not telling people no. I told people no many a times. And, I would get phone calls about that, believe it or not, when I was doing my job and enforcing things. Okay, I got phone calls. And I put a video out by which type of citizens that were calling, calling the mayor, calling city council, calling the chief, calling, the sheriff, blah, blah, blah. So, we have been in a silent revolution silent revolution, a lot of us. And we didn't know what we were. And that's the whole idea. You don't want to know so much about what your duties are, what your assignments are, what your missions are. You just need to, I think because if you knew all of that, a lot of us probably wouldn't have done none of what we're doing. Not at all. We would say, oh no, not me. I'm not doing that, So that's why it's so important when people are being taught. You teach them what they need to know, and as far as the knowledge base, and not give them too much all at once. Because if we were told, we had to go through this and that, and like through the fire, and through the all elements of what this life has to offer, a lot of us would have said, oh no. And I remember I put a video out a while ago. I mean, not a while ago, a long time ago, about when I was like around, I guess, anywhere from 9 to 12. I had this awakening experience one day, in a parking lot with my godmother and her husband. She was putting him on a bus to go, because he was a predator. Nobody wanted to admit that he was a predator. But he was also, severe alcoholic as well. So she would put him on a bus. They would go somewhere, just some type of AA meeting. And I can remember I was in the back seat of the car waiting for her to come back after, putting him on the bus. And I can remember being pissed off about something. I was always pissed off. If I couldn't do what I wanted to do, I got pissed. I was always pissed off and mad, pouting, acting immature, because I was. And then I remember one day it was a dark, starry night. I think the stars were original back then. This was back in the, either in the 70s, I think. I can't remember, 70s maybe. Yeah, had to be the 70s. And I can remember looking up in the dark sky and seeing all the stars. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's like I had an awakening. I'm telling you, it's like, a lot of people attribute that to, some type of something more than it isn't. Okay, they want to make it, they turn it into, some say it was a spiritual moment. A lot of people say, oh, that was God. I dismiss all of that. I call it an experience, okay? An experience. It was just just like I had an awakening. Something woke me up and said, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then I started paying attention to the grander things, like the stars, like the moon, the trees. I started to pay attention to elements that I didn't even know were there. And that's when I felt transformed. It was like an awakening. That's all I can call it. No religious connotations to it at all. I heard, I may have felt something going on. There may have been something auditory being said. Who knows? All I know, it was coming from me, or it was either coming to me, inside of me, whatever it was. It was an experience. How about that? It was like I had an opening, and I saw, that's was around the time I used to have all these vivid, lucid dreams, and it was grand, and it was big, and it was, and I was under that spell. I may have been in a trance. Who knows? It was a great trance, because I felt free. Okay, and most people that are in trances don't feel free at all. That's why you have to really, really, really dive in deep about your experiences. It may not have been what you thought it was. It may not have anything to do with religion, anything to do with supernatural. It was just an experience. Okay, some people can want to say a phenomenon. You can say whatever you want. Sometimes words cannot express. Okay, I know it wasn't what most people assume it could be. That's why I didn't talk to anybody about it, because because I knew what I was surrounded by. Okay, let's just be honest about that. In the culture, I knew what I was surrounded by. So. And so I used to just keep those things within and not say much. Child, you even put me in no mental institution, or medicate me. And thankfully back then there wasn't that medication kind of situation. Let me take this thing off because I'm sweating. It is not as well. It says it's in the 40s, but it does not feel like it's in the 40s. All right, but anyway. So, in other words, trust your own experiences. Sometimes you have to be silent about it. And I was. I was silent about certain experiences I was having because I don't even want people to assume otherwise. Okay? And it just turns out I was just a visual person. So a visual person will have a lot of, you're going to see a lot of stars. You're going to see colors, abstract, in abstract. You're going to see the beauty of things, and that's what it was. It was beautiful, and it lasted for about a month, and then I was back to my mischief, causing problems, attempting to beat up my brothers, which they always won, but it didn't stop me. So I say this as encouraging, is that everything will make sense at some point. It doesn't make sense now, and the reason is because of the timing of everything, the culmination that we're at, and there's going to be a lot of revelations for a lot of people, and it's going to be for those of you that know that there is something more to what you have been told. I said this on a podcast, I think. We are going to, some of us have, for hundreds of years, thousands of years, maybe millions of years, have usually came together, even though we're different people all the time. Because when we reborn, we pass the baton to a completely different person in our lineage, but they're a part of it. So we all have been a part of something, and that's why we resonate. So some of us we're going to circle and circle and circle and come back together again as a group, as a community. Who knows? Okay, just fantasize about that, and tell me why that doesn't make sense. Why you resonate with some people and you don't. There's a reason for that. Why you connect with some people and you don't. Why you, like me, I always had people coming up to me and say, "Don't I know you from somewhere?" I get that all the time, everywhere I go. Wait, but don't I know you? And see, I remember people by their eyes, but I shouldn't have. I've said that many a times, but I remember people that I've encountered. They may not know that I know, but or it's like, don't I know you? It's energy. It's energy. You feel comfortable with that person. You feel safe with that person. If you have any kind of problems or stuff, that that you can come to me and others like me, and we will protect you. We will defend you. So again, those of you out there, just stay encouraged. It's meaningful to do what you're doing to help people, whether you get noticed for it or not. The social media platform was not here. I mean, it's been around for, I don't know, since the 80s, right? But before that, we managed fine to socialize and to meet people. We didn't need social media to do that. Social media was supposed to assist, though, but then we know what's happening to it. It was nefarious fashions behind the scenes, with their own agenda, and I've talked about that enough, and we know that. the people working in a silent revolutionary manner, meaning you know what needs to be done, whether you are the president, the vice president, the owner, ordinary citizen, a teacher, whatever. You know that you have a title in your life. You know that you have to be in a certain profession, but you know deep within what's really important, what matters. And you always have that in the back of your mind, regardless of what sometimes you have to be finessing your words, using a certain strategy in how you are projecting yourself to people, because you know what is behind the scenes. You know about matters that there's something going on behind the scenes that a lot of us just don't know. A lot of people choose to be unconscious about, right? You are conscious. You are aware, okay? And you've been that way since you were a young child, if you go back to it. Those of you that have come to this moment in time, you pick those factors up during your developing as an adolescent, during your puberty. That's why you can navigate around in garbage when you know that there's more going on than meets the eye. It's a skill, it's an ability, and it had to be developed, and we're constantly developing. We're constantly evolving. And those of you know that. That's why you silently support me. You silently support others that are in the same group, so to speak, in the same mission, so to speak, in the same, whatever you want to call it, the connectiveness, the parallelness, the like-mindedness, and like I said, you're in all walks of life. And sometimes you have to stay silent for decades, maybe for the rest of your life, just so you can protect and defend, the ones you love, or just protect the fabric of our responsibilities and our missions, But someday, trust me, someday we will be together again, and we can experience the joys of the turbulence of this at this point in time, this culmination, the opening of something cosmic and scheduled to be magnificent, fantastic, amazing, but yet we still have a lot of work to do. We still have a lot of work to do. And so it may be in the form of, it all depends on the planet, but we may have to pass that baton to another personality, and let them move it forward. But remember, all of our lineage is connected, okay? We are connected in a universal fashion. Okay, some will, sadly a lot, are just going to be swirling in abyss, swirling in deja vu. And they'll never hear my sounds and tones. They will not ever resonate to my sounds and tones. And I understand that. Okay, and I accept that. In other words, I know I can only help just so few. We got 10 billion people on this planet, and it's growing. Almost 10 billion, I should say. And it's continually to grow on a rock. Okay, that is barely able to handle 1 billion people. When you consider the fashion of animals, vegetation, trees, and this and that and the other. So sadly, we cause a lot of animals to go extinct. We cause a lot of vegetation to disappear. And so we know the perils, but we are built for this. This is how we develop ourselves. This is how we are built. We're built for this. So it doesn't mean that we're not going to go through some pain and suffering. Some of us will, depending on our ages, how old we are, how young we are, you know, where our consciousness is. But like I said, the people I'm talking to, we parallel. In other words, we're like-minded. We're in a group together, you know. And there's several groups. Keep that in mind. So I hope that's encouraging. If not, oh well. No, it's okay. I hope that's encouraging to know just keep moving forward. It's all worth it in the end. You know, it's all worth it in the end, just like with anything else. You know, you have to put in the work, you put in the efforts. You know, you have the right intentions. And, you know, again, you're built for this. You can handle it. You know, like I said, you got to finesse in your words, sometimes finesse in your behavior. You may be creating contradictions to some once they realize, but that's not your issue. You know, sometimes you have to know how to disseminate properly, okay, without overwhelming people. You have to know how to walk the talk without all these, instead of having these show ponies do that for us. These manipulative, deceptive, you know, monstrous type of personalities that are being created that are anything but humane, and more so inhumane and dangerous for all of us, okay? So protect yourself, protect your family, protect your consciousness. Be gentle, be kind with yourself. And, you know, as well, be gentle and kind with others, friendly. But if you need to take out a weapon and defend yourself, take out a weapon to defend yourself. A lot of people are unconscious, okay? And they have no idea what they're doing, okay? Or maybe they do. But protect yourself nonetheless. Protect your wife, your husband, your kids, your animals, your property, yourself, and like I said, your consciousness. So thank you for listening on this Tuesday, January the 30th, 2024. Wow. You know, time is moving. Time has never stopped, and time will not stop for anyone. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and send peace and love all over the stars and moon and mountains. Trust me. I'll be back.